He was supposed to kill. Instead, he disobeyed Hitler. This is the story of an SS officer who chose compassion over cruelty, humanity over hatred. In the darkest chapter of history, one man defied the most monstrous regime imaginable, not with a weapon, but with a conscience. This man was Karl Plegg, a German engineer and a member of the Nazi Party. Like millions of others, he was swept up in the tide of nationalism, joining the party in 1931. When the war began, his expertise led him to a crucial role within the SS, overseeing a forced labor camp in Vilna, Lithuania. The camp was designated HKP 562, a vehicle repair unit. On the surface, it was just another cog in the vast, brutal machine of war. But beneath the surface, Plegg was playing a dangerous game. He was a commandant, an officer in the Schutzstaffel, the very organization responsible for carrying out the Holocaust. His orders were clear: exploit the labor of Jewish prisoners until they were no longer useful, then discard them. But Plegg saw something else. He saw skilled mechanics, talented workers, and terrified families. He saw their humanity. And he made a choice that would put his own life on the line every single day. He began by issuing work permits, known as Schein, to as many Jewish men, women, and even children as he could. He argued to his superiors that these people were essential to the war effort. He claimed their wives and children were needed to cook, clean, and support the male workers, ensuring the vehicle repair unit ran at peak efficiency. It was a bureaucratic lie, a shield made of paperwork. Each permit he signed was a small act of rebellion, a temporary stay of execution for a person condemned to die. He inflated the number of skilled workers needed, creating jobs that didn't exist, just to justify bringing more people under his protection. Imagine the constant fear. Every day, Plegg walked a tightrope. He had to maintain the facade of a loyal Nazi officer, barking orders and managing the camp with German efficiency. He couldn't show any sign of sympathy. A single slip-up, one misplaced word, could mean his own execution and the immediate slaughter of everyone he was trying to save. He was surrounded by other SS officers, men who were true believers, men who would not hesitate to report him. He lived with the crushing weight of knowing that the lives of over 1,000 people depended entirely on his ability to deceive the most suspicious and murderous regime in history. The prisoners in the HKP camp lived in a state of suspended terror. They knew they were safer than those in the Vilna ghetto, but they also knew their safety was fragile. Te kayedim, the good commandant, but they could never be sure of his true intentions. Was he really protecting them? Or was he just a more cunning They saw him save people from the murderous roundups, pulling them out of lines destined for the death pits at Poner. But they also saw him as part of the system that had destroyed their world. One survivor, Pearl Good, later recalled how Plegg's demeanor was always stern. He never smiled. He couldn't afford to. He maintained a professional distance, the mask of a cold German officer, but his actions spoke louder than any comforting words could. He allowed the men to smuggle their families into the camp. He turned a blind eye to the secret schools the prisoners set up for their children, to the hidden prayers, to the small acts of cultural and spiritual resistance that kept their hope alive in the face of annihilation. He created a bubble of life in a sea of death. As the Soviet army advanced in the summer of 1944, the order came to liquidate the camp. The end was near. For the prisoners of HKP 562, their borrowed time was running out. This was the ultimate test of Plegg's courage. He could have saved himself, followed his orders, and walked away. No one would have ever known the extent of his defiance. Instead, on a July evening, Karl Plegg gathered the prisoners. In his typically cold and formal manner, he delivered a coded message. He announced that the entire camp, prisoners and guards alike, would be escorted by the SS to a new location. He emphasized that during this evacuation, they should not worry, because the SS was an organization dedicated to protecting refugees. The prisoners understood immediately. The SS protecting refugees. It was a terrifying, cynical lie, and it was Plegg's final, desperate warning. He was telling them, the SS is coming to kill you all. Run. Hide. Save yourselves. He couldn't say it outright, but he gave them the one thing they needed most. A chance. That night, a frantic effort began. Hundreds of prisoners found hiding places in secret bunkers they had dug under the floorboards, in the rafters, in the walls, anywhere they could disappear. When the SS death squads arrived the next morning to liquidate the camp, they found it half empty. They hunted for those in hiding, but hundreds managed to escape the final slaughter. Of the approximately 1,250 Jews in Plag's camp, about 250 survived the final days, the largest single group of Jewish survivors from Vilna. After the war, Karl Plage faced a denazification tribunal. He was initially classified as a fellow traveler, a collaborator. It was a stain he found unbearable. The people he had saved, now scattered across the world, heard of his plight. They wrote letters, gave testimony, and fought to clear his name. They told the world what he had done, how he had used his position within the heart of the Nazi machine to sabotage it from the inside. Thanks to their tireless efforts, his name was eventually cleared. In 2005, Yad Vashem, Israel's official memorial to the victims of the Holocaust, posthumously awarded Karl Plage the title of Righteous Among the Nations. It's an honor reserved for non-Jews who risked their lives to save Jews during the Holocaust. Karl Plage's story isn't a simple tale of a good man. It's the complex, morally fraught story of a man who was part of an evil system but who, when faced with an ultimate choice, found the courage to defy it. He reminds us that even in the most absolute darkness, a single individual can choose to light a candle. He disobeyed Hitler, not on the battlefield, but in the quiet, daily struggle for human dignity. And because of him, hundreds of stories that were supposed to end in ashes continued, leading to new generations who exist today only because of his impossible choice. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more incredible stories from history. We'll see you next time.